Radio. It's Tuesday evening and it's 6 p.m. UK time. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth. The Grail Message by Abdushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is good intentions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. I'm Saad in southeast London, the host of the show, and the weather here is a little bit windy and partly overcast, but nice and warm here. And with me as usual is Gregory. Gregory, how are you and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine, weather is bright but a bit chilly.
Oh, chilly there. Okay, but bright. So welcome to the show, everyone. As I said, the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message. And the topic that we're going to be discussing tonight is good intentions are not enough. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And I wanted to say this is a bit early, Eid Mubarak for this coming Friday or Saturday, depends where you are, for those Muslim brothers and sisters celebrating that is coming up this week later. So I'd like to now begin with what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic that we're discussing tonight is good intentions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. If you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Now, listeners, as you know, I like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic in the dictionary. So, again, the topic is good intentions are not enough. So the first word there, or key word, is good. So let's see what the dictionary says for that. I've got 2 meanings. First one, to be desired or approved of. And they said, example for that, it's good that he's back to his old self. To be desired or approved of. Gregory, what do you say about this meaning?
Yeah, thanks. The dictionary meanings are helpful, but they all suffer. All dictionary meanings suffer from one basic flaw. There is no natural context. Therefore, you have that it now depends on how it is applied and to whom it is applied. Whereas within the terms of our discussion, we have a framework, and it is from that framework of the natural laws of creation and the laws of nature that we will view many a happening.
Thank you for that. Gregory, I've noticed there's a little bit of background noise, but it's a little bit low as well. So if you can just speak a little bit louder, because yes, go. So just to make it, that's better. That's better. I think the voice is louder now. Just let's continue and see if there's anything else if it needs to be done. So. Okay, so I got your point there. There's a context, as usual, we say it in every show. There should be a context of the framework of the natural laws whenever we are looking to understand these concepts. You know, so we're talking about good right now. In the dictionary, as you have said in the past, these things are a pointer. They're not like the perfect definition. So we have to just take that into account when we are looking at these concepts. Let me see if the second meaning in the dictionary will help us. Again, this is for the meaning of the word good. Having the required qualities of, and then another section of it is of a high standard. And they give an example, a good restaurant. So having the required qualities, and then a semicolon, of a high standard. How is this one, Gregory?
Like we keep repeating, they are helpful, but anything, any expression that has no context becomes difficult to use, in the sense that it means as many things to as many people, and because there is no precise uniform concept or main context that may be used. And that is why most of these things, from the dictionary point of view, seem correct.
Okay, thank you for that. Again, Gregory, your voice is a little low. I think there was not so much background this time, but it's just the voice is slightly low. So let us continue still. And if I'll just point out again if it's need to adjust it a bit more. So now the next word in the topic tonight is intentions, or intention. And the word I've got, the meaning I've got in the dictionary is a thing intended, or an aim, or plan. These are plural, actually, intention. So it's an aim or plan, aims or plans, or a thing intended. So again, I know the word intention and intended are the same thing there. So yes, I'll just say aims, Gregory, or plans. How's that, the definition?
Yes, this can be used, but again, these are pointers, these are arrows.
Okay, let's continue. I think we will just, as we go, things hopefully will become more clear. The next key word is enough. And in the dictionary I found as much or as many as required. So this is, an example they give is, there's too much work and not enough people to do it. So enough is as much or as many as required. So what do you say about this meaning?
It is also helpful.
Okay.
It's also very helpful.
Okay, then let's continue now. Gregory, what I've learned is sometimes these words make a phrase, as this one does, and in the topic, and so it's better to look up the whole phrase in the, let's say, in Google, I'm going to say, because that dictionary wouldn't have it exactly like this. So that's what I did. And what I said was, good intentions are not enough. So let me see what it said. It says, good intentions are not enough highlights that having positive intentions is a starting point, but it's not sufficient to guarantee desired outcomes or successful actions. While good intentions are a positive foundation, they must be coupled with action, empathy, and effective communication to achieve real results. So, Gregory, here they're giving an answer, actually. Good, and good intentions are not enough, so they should be coupled with action. Actually, not only action, empathy, effective communication to achieve real results. So, what can I say? Is that everything that is required? Let me say this way. When we say good intentions are not enough, let me first ask that, Gregory, is this phrase right to say good intentions are not enough?
The phrase is thoughtful.
Okay.
Rightness or wrongness depends on the framework.
I see. Okay. Now this framework, are we talking about, surely is the world that we live in? This is the framework we are talking about. So I'm wondering, is there something we are missing, or there's something more you want to tell us about the framework. Yeah, can you tell us a bit more about this framework, Gregory?
All that exists, whether it be man or nature, whatever exists, which are perceptible to our five senses or beyond, all that exists have a framework that made it possible for their existence to persist and to continue. Therefore, it is this framework which nature has provided, or more precisely, which the laws of nature has provided. It is that framework that the individual in nature, in creation, should utilize in his or her activities. If that framework is never considered, then people or many others can come with arbitrary discussions, arbitrary activities, and we deem it to be right. If, however, all activities are considered only within the framework through which all that exists came into existence, then those activities which help to improve conditions in accordance with these laws, those activities which ensure that there is one for all and all for one, only those ones will be good in accordance with this framework, because with that there is persistence, there is continuity, and those who dwell within that container which is referred to as creation are able to express themselves and to mature in accordance with these laws of creation.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and the picture you painted there. What I'm seeing from it is that there's a system or mechanism where this that exists, where everything operates, our life operates, or whatever that exists operates. So we need to, and this is the framework we have been referring to, that we need to look at. And could say you need our five senses, which are, let's say, working in this physical world that we are aware of, on a daily basis, of this earthly world, you can say. And then there's, beyond that, the earthly world, there is another world, or let's say another world, I would say, which is a simply way to put it is maybe not quite as, I was going to call it non-material, because we're living in this world of the physical world, which is the world of matter, and then there is the world beyond. But actually there is, to say that is not sufficient, because there's also another world of matter beyond this physical world. So, but just to say there is other worlds which are non-material as well. And that's all part of this existence that we can call part of this life that we're existing in, this creation. I mean, maybe the easiest way to call it. Now, so Gregory, we are saying that good intentions are not enough, and so it seems there's some other things that need to be looked at. And in the Google it was saying there was actions coupled with the intention. In fact, it's not only that. It says empathy and effective communication to achieve results. So let me ask that, Gregory. What else we need apart from good intentions to, let's say, to fulfill our, I was going to say wishes, or to successfully produce, let's say, because intention means there's a certain thing you're trying to, result you're trying to achieve with your intention. So apart from good intention, what else? What other ingredients are necessary to produce a, let's say, I'm calling it another way, a desired result. Let me say that way. But there's many things we could consider, but I just want to put something out there just to look at. So what else is needed apart from good intentions, Gregory, to achieve a desired result, a wish?
Basically, you must ask yourself, what does it mean to have good intention? Good in accordance with the perceptions of man, or good with relation to the laws through which it came into existence? That is the first challenge which must be looked into. And then subsequently, the expression intention is more of a volition. So, if there is a volition, to ensure that that volition becomes big, then activities must be carried out. These are actions to make it a reality within the sphere of our operation. So, to make those solutions a reality in the world of matter, which is perceptible to our five senses, at least to some extent, then it must be coupled to activities, to action, to actualize it. Not just to actualize it, but to actualize it in accordance with the laws through which the individual came into existence. So that is a key which many have not taken into consideration, that the volition must be actualized. Like you rightly said, there is a plan, which is more of a volition or an intention. But if it is not actualized, that means it will not have, it is not usable, it cannot be perceptible to the senses that the individual has.
Sorry, Gregory, the last line I didn't get you clearly. It is not perceptible, did you say? I didn't quite hear you.
It will not be perceptible to the five senses that the individual that has a good volition has. Because now with so-called good volition, it may be in your thoughts. But how has it been actualized? It has to be actualized such that it is perceptible in deeds. Some are in words, some just the five senses which the individual has. It is these five senses that is used to actualize it. Here we are discussing. You have an intention in your thoughts. You have a volition in your thoughts. And only in this communication were you able to ask questions. The person answering or providing solutions to these questions has also a volition. If, however, in the question and answer scenario, it is not vocalized, it is not made perceptible to one or all of the five senses, then how can others be able to perceive of this good intention or not good intention? So activities indeed are necessary to actualize it.
Thanks again for this answer, Gregory. Yes, I'm getting the picture now. Yes, you said intention could be looked at as a volition, like our will, you might say. And then this will has to, or intention, need to be actualized, meaning that it has to manifest in, you could say, the physical deed. So yes, you have a wish to do to achieve something, and just the wish on its own doesn't materialize itself. Something has to go make it do something to actualize, to materialize it, meaning taking actions. And you mentioned these five senses that we have, which we must apply to, make that intention, you could say, become alive as a physical deed. So yes. Now, yes, you mentioned, Gregory, those five senses, which we know is like listening, speaking, touch, smell, and I forget always the fifth one. But I'm wondering, Gregory, is that sufficient to materialize these five senses? Because what about the brain? Don't we need? It's like you need a machine which I'm using the word brain here, to put things together. You can say, the idea. We have an idea, and the idea has to manifest in the physical as a deed, like you said, deed. So the senses I can see, they cooperate in this work, but don't you need something that, like the brain, like I say, which brings everything together, so to make it visible or manifest in a physical way? What about that, Gregory, the brain?
That which is referred to as a volition first might appear in one's intuition or in one's thoughts. It is the brain that does the coordination of this volition. But it remains a volition which only the individual is able to sense, if one may put it that way. However, how can the individual make that good volition available to others without deeds? That's why the example was given. You yourself, asking the question, you had a volition, which volition you spent examining very carefully, putting your thoughts together, and subsequently asking questions. To ask questions, to even put your thoughts together in paper. These are deeds. These are activities, deeds, which are perceptible only with the five senses. So without the five senses, how can you make these volitions manifest? One cannot just say, oh, I have good intention, it's in my thoughts. I have good intention to travel to one place or the other. It's in your thoughts. But have you traveled? I have good intentions to give a discussion. Have you had a discussion? If you have to actualize this good volition, what tools would one need to actualize them indeed? Here on earth is the five senses.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this explanation there. We want to explore more about the topic tonight. Good intentions are not enough. I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Abrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And as I mentioned, the topic tonight is good intentions are not enough. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. Now, as I said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 there again, space, Grail Message, space, good intentions are not enough. That's the topic of our show tonight. Good intentions are not enough. And after the show, you can listen to the recording of this show. Exactly the same way as by going on YouTube and youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space, Grail Message, space, good intentions are not enough. And of course, you can listen to the recordings of our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, and I noticed the link has changed for Zeno, so I will give it to you now. It is so it's www.zeno.fm/radio, RADIO, /Bless Radio 1. That's Bless Radio 1 with the number 1 again at the end. Now, I'm just trying to look at what we've said so far about the good intentions. We said another way to put it would be volition, you could say our will. As a human being, we have a will. Now, we said this will or volition, we want to make it manifest on this earth, you can say, like a physical deed or a deed. And let's say physical? Because we can also say some words, a deed could be that. Making a speech, you can say, or a statement, because we may have a wish to tell people a message, and that would be, of course, through words. So that's one. Another message idea could be to build something physically. So that's all of these are deeds. We're calling them deeds. So turning our intention or volition into deeds. But we are also saying that good intention or volition is not enough. So it means there's something, you could say, not sufficient there to make these things happen. Now, I'm wondering, Gregory, maybe I'm jumping in a bit early, but there was a statement that Jesus made about the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Now, I want to read that quote where it comes from in the Bible, so that we can have a little bit of you can say, context for it. Although the phrase is quite clear. Let me just find that before I remember. Here we go. Yes, it's Matthew chapter 26, verse 36 to 46. This is in Gethsemane. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping, because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." So, Gregory, there we see this example when Jesus went to pray, and 3 times he went there, or to pray by himself, and leaving the disciples behind, and telling them to watch. And then whenever he came back 3 times, they had fallen asleep. So he said this phrase, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." So it seems, Gregory, there's some weakness with this, in, how can I say, keeping, let's say, making things happen, as they should be. So there seems to be some weakness within us. What is it? Because Jesus said, spirit is willing and the flesh is weak. So what is it that is weak? That is what it looks like. There's something weak in the flesh.
As at the time you yourself were preparing for this lecture, you had a volition. that volition in thoughts. Before that volition in thoughts, there is the volition in spirit, which manifests as an intuitive perception. So, the volition in spirit comes first, which then impresses itself on one's thoughts, where you gather the material in thoughts. That's the second phase. And then here we are in our discussion. This is the final phase. So that's volition which has become deeds in spirit has been passed on to one's thoughts, and here we are fulfilling that volition in deeds. So that volition, one may say, has manifested in deeds. It has taken quite some time because there was the need to make that volition, to ensure that volition manifests such that other human personalities who might be listening or might be watching in YouTube, to ensure they are able to perceive using one of the five senses to grasp that which is being mediated. Because the last part of it, which is the scenario in deeds, came later, that gives the very simple impression that due to densification, it takes longer for a spiritual volition to finally manifest in deeds in the world of matter. Therefore, that's what makes it, that delay appears like a weakness, because the manifestation in deeds in the world of matter do not follow immediately. It takes some time. There is a lagging behind in the fulfillment of that volition. So the spirit is strong because it manifests itself through intuitive perceptions. The manifestation in deeds in the world of matter comes much later, so it lags behind. That is partly what that expression is referring to. In your reading, the way it was related, that Christ took two of the disciples and asked them to keep watch. And he went off to pray. The question which many must ask themselves, whilst he was communicating with his Heavenly Father, these people, it is reported, fell asleep. Then ask yourself, how did this report come about? Who was the observer? To have observed all this, that Christ went on to pray, and these other two disciples fell asleep, and when Christ came and told them this. whatever is written out there as historical events must be examined only in accordance with the laws of creation, such that many an error will not be spread about because it is considered to be sacred. And in your reading, you said it happened 3 times. And at the end of it, there was the mention of the Son of Man. That which is spiritual, which many an evangelist want to report, sometimes they mix it up with earthly trifles and therefore produce a concoction which is confusing to so very many. So these writings must be examined first in accordance with the living laws of creation. Only then, when all the errors have been taken out, can the individual human personality make sense out of these readings.
Thanks for your answer there, Gregory. I'm just trying to, the last thing you said, I'm just trying to make sense. So you said somebody reported this, you could say, story in the Bible, because how do they know that this happened 3 times that these disciples fell asleep while Jesus was praying 3 times, they fell asleep? It can't, yes, in a way you think, oh, it can't be them, the disciples know this story, except that Jesus would have told them why he was sleeping, and then they probably will remember this, but it happened 3 times. So yes, I don't know who wrote this story or where is the story coming from. But what you're saying, Gregory, don't just take a word of somebody, whatever they see account they give you. You need to, how can I say, check it, I guess, and be sure that it's not a false story. So, but if you take it like as a, sometimes you could take it as a lesson rather than an absolutely correct story. So, because that's what Jesus said, supposedly he said that the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. And you've already answered how this process happens. So yeah, because when you have, let's say, a wish, or you say do this, it doesn't mean automatically that will happen immediately. Some things, you can want something, but it doesn't happen immediately. You have to wait for the result to come. So I'm just thinking that the main point was just to realize that there is some difference between what is the spirit is willing to do, wants to do, which is the volition, and then the actual materializing in the physical, which is the deed, which is in this case staying awake. They're supposed to stay awake while Jesus is praying, and keeping watch on that. And somehow they seem to be weak in this matter. So maybe there's, you could say, Gregory, things are not perfect. That's what you can say, because you can have a wish, but it doesn't always manifest, that's for sure. Although this was not a difficult exercise, if I'm honest, what was asked from them. So, yeah. Let's continue and see what else we can discover about good intentions.
It was not a difficult exercise from them.
No, it wasn't difficult. That's what I thought. What they were asked to do was to keep watch. I don't think it was difficult, but somehow they fell asleep. So this is what I found strange. That even though
the question, when you say they keep watch, there are different types of watch.
Right.
There could be spiritual watching. That means to be alert in spirit. For the mission of Christ on earth is spiritual. So to be watchful, Christ could have told them to be watchful not only in the world of matter, but also to be watchful in spirit, to be watchful in their thoughts. And when it is said, okay, they were asleep, that watchfulness, which could have arisen in spirit or in thoughts or in gross material deeds here in the world of matter, maybe that was not present at all. And that was why Christ had to rebuke them when he came. So that context of watchfulness must be taken in a holistic manner rather than just, okay, maybe you are trying to see if there are others that are coming or not. And you must ask yourself, why was it that he chose only 2 of them and not all of them? These are the questions which the individual must ask himself or herself in examining the activities of Christ.
Thanks very much for this answer and explanation there, Gregory. Yes, as you say, there's a spiritual meaning of these words, or spiritual actions even. And sometimes if you take it very literally, the words, you will not realize the spiritual words in it. You'll take it only physically. So thank you for making that correction, you can say. Thank you for that. Okay. Let me look at another aspect about good intentions. This again, which was in my research, it says the road to hell. The phrase, the road to hell, is paved with good intentions, emphasizing that even the best intentions can lead to negative consequences if not executed properly. This proverb suggests that outcomes are determined by actions, not just intentions behind them. So, Gregory, this phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and which emphasizes that even the best intentions can lead to negative consequences if not executed properly. So, what I'm seeing there, Gregory, again, good intention is not enough, but maybe what else could be, you could say, not right in this particular scenario where the road to hell is paved with good intention? Is it that this is the wrong road they're traveling? Because you could be on the wrong road and then you still have your good intentions will not help you if you're on the wrong road, isn't it? I'm just thinking that. So, so what are the ingredient, or what is required to make sure that that keeps you on the, let's say, right way?
At the beginning of the discussion, the stress was made that only those intentions or only those volitions are good which volitions are in accordance with the laws of nature, the laws of creation, through which the individual and all that exists came into existence. Once it resonates and it is for the good of all, one for all and all for one, in that context, in that framework, then the streaming mercies from on high that passes through the individual, that individual is able to make use of this power to mediate it to others, to ensure it brings benefit not only to itself, but also to others. Only then will it be said that those volitions, those intentions are good. However, to make those good volitions perceptible in deeds in the world of matter, activities are needed to actualize them. Similar to here we have our discussions. We can have our good intentions in our heads, in our volition, in our intuition, but unless we take a further step to ensure it is complete in deeds, in our activities, such as what we ourselves are embarking on, then those good intentions will not be actualized, in deeds, but will be left floating out there. As long as these good intentions, which are good only in accordance with the laws of creation, these good intentions are then implemented in deeds, then it will bring blessing on the individual and ensures that the individual matures in accordance with the will of the Almighty and return to, or gradually or subsequently return to its origin as a self-conscious human personality. That is the task that the individual must engage in to return it home. In that case, it doesn't lead to hell where there is confusion. It leads back to its origin such that the individual becomes self-conscious, which is the goal of those who are matured, who have matured in accordance with this same will that permitted them the opportunity to exist, to come into existence and to mature.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer. I want to just let the listeners know that you're listening to Blessful Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Uprishin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is good intentions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the home page, you will see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are broadcasting, as you know, on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, good intentions are not enough. And after the show, you can listen to the recording of this show again on YouTube. You type the same words in the search box. So YouTube, you go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space, Grail Message, space, good intentions are not enough, which is the name of the topic for the show tonight. You can also listen to us on Zeno. Now the link has changed for Zeno, so it's zeno.fm/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there. Now, I've got a quote, Gregory. This is from Jeff Bezos, who is the owner of Amazon. And it's not direct, somebody's saying this is what he said, so I cannot very 100% be sure it's exactly this, but anyway, I will just say it. So it says, good intentions don't work. Mechanisms do. Long term, you can't solve problems by working more or trying harder. If you want persistent change, you have to fix the underlying system. So let me repeat that. So good intentions don't work. Mechanisms do. Long term, you can't solve problems by working more or trying harder. If you want persistent change, you have to fix the underlying system. So my question, Gregory, is this true?
Many of the things which are mentioned, if you listen carefully to the thoughts behind Jeff's statements, there was no context. Like he said, good intention. On what framework are those intentions good? That was not mentioned. However, he himself mentioned mechanism. Which mechanism? That he did not mention. So the spoken language is such that it is considered as an arbitrary arrangement of words. Had he added the framework of motion, which is a law in creation, in which that which needs to be considered has been put in place in such a way that they reinforce one another based on a given framework, then that statement, good intention, will stand on the one side, and then the implementation of these intentions will also be considered. So it is not just good intentions don't work, but mechanisms. Mechanisms, what is the framework of this mechanism? These mechanisms, are they just ordinary words which are not carried into deeds? Intentions by themselves are just simple volitions to ensure that these volitions are actualized. You will find that a mechanism, like he himself mentioned, which mechanism is only possible when the tools that are available to man, which are the five senses, are brought into the equation to ensure that these intentions are actualized. Here, very simply, your own good intention in asking the questions, those intentions were the original volitions in your thoughts. But you did not stop there. You went further and vocalized this question. So, means you yourself have to use one of the tools which are available to you, one of the five senses. It is the same everywhere. In all activities, there is always the planning phase in which there will be discussions, in which thoughts, which many have in their heads, in which intuitions, which have arisen, activities that have arisen from their spirits, all these are collated. Thereafter, then the final step in actualizing it is considered, in which the tools which are necessary are brought in, and you now have a combination of these tools being used in the actualization. That is how it works, whether it be it in science, be it in engineering, or whatever one cares to call it. That is how it has always been. First, there is the plan, or what we refer to as evolution. And then there is the actualization. That is the way nature works. That is the way creation is.
Thanks a lot, Gregory. As you said, everything there has to be a context. So when you are thinking of Jeff Bezos, who's owning the Amazon, we know Amazon is a very successful company delivering products, in a very efficient and, a successful way. First they have to source the product, and then they have to market them, and then they have to obviously deliver them. That's what they're about. It's like a shop without a physical place, and then that you visit the shop, you only visit it like a virtual world. That's what we know. But the people trust it because it, as we know, it's famous and it's successful. So I think there, Jeff Bezos is, when he's making this statement, he's talking about the operation of his business, and in this field of the sourcing the product and delivering them to the customer, and obviously efficiently. So I think that's what he's in his phrase. He's talking this way. So that's the context. If I were to say something about that.
If I may come in,
yes.
You didn't mention that behind the words that Jeff used, that there are warehouses scattered all over the place.
Yes.
And in that case, that is the mechanism of the actualization. So, before these warehouses were built, there was evolution. Before Jeff puts Amazon in its present context, there was evolution in thoughts. gradually taking one step after the other and putting the right tools in place and how these tools should operate, that's which one we now call Amazon is operating. Otherwise, if he himself did not bring in the context of warehouses, of communications, and all these things that make it possible for it to deliver the goods, Amazon will not exist. So there is always a context which many may not yet see because they haven't reflected enough. And many times these statements are taken out of context. And there was this other case you mentioned saying it is a successful. Yes, it is successful in the way many a human personality may consider it. What is good is that operation which has been carried out brings blessing not only to one individual but to all. By all, one is not only referring to human personalities, but also there are other beings that exist here. So when it is said, oh, it's a successful company, yes, it is. But as viewed here on earth by the framework which many have put in place. One can give an example as at the time where evil was so built up here on earth, in the time of the Nazis in Germany. Of course, they were very efficient in ensuring that evil take the highest framework in which human personalities were headed into trucks and efficiently murdered. Of course they were successful. But was that in accordance with the laws of creation, of nature, in which it was said to love thy neighbor as thyself? That people are successful doesn't mean that what they themselves are doing, the nature of their activities, resonates in accordance with the living will of the light. It is true that many, in their superficiality, see these things as success. That which must be considered as good is that which is beneficial not only to the individual but also to others. In the case, like has been mentioned in the past, again and again, one for all and all for one.
Thanks a lot to Gregory for bringing this point across about all for one and one for all in, let's say, whatever scenario we are talking about. Not, like you said, this people calling something success because something is efficient in producing an outcome, let's say a particularly desired outcome. But is this outcome, let's say, beneficial to all? Well, we can say with Nazis, if they're killing somebody in a mass killing, that cannot be beneficial to all, obviously. So with regards to Amazon, yes, I could say pretty much every business has some flaws, um, because I don't know if they're looking to, when they make their business, to benefit all, or is it just to benefit themselves, or just the immediate customers, because obviously they can't live without their customer. So, but if they don't do it for all, well, that can be possible. Maybe they're doing, this is not strange, other businesses may be doing the same thing, expense of certain employees, exploitation, you can say. So yes, we have to look at it in that context, that if something is successful, it should be successful or beneficial to all. Okay. Now, I'm trying to think, Gregory, of what is that can help us. We said earlier the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I was wondering if there was something weak about the flesh, you can say, that you gave us the mechanism of that, where the spirit, how the spirit acts, which is it has a volition. It makes a volition, and then that manifests as a deed, let's say, in this physical world. And the process, yes, your wish or your volition can be immediate, but for it to transform into a physical deed, that takes time, because it's a different world that you're going through, from the spirit to this world of matter, or the physical world. So there's a timeline, a time lag, you can say, involved in that for things to manifest. So I was wondering, Gregory, is there some way to, you would say, make things better for as a in the way we function as human beings, where our will manifests, if I can use the word successfully, or beneficially even. And I was wondering, maybe we have to do certain practice, let's say, which could be, for example, well, I have about 3 or 4 of them actually, but maybe we go a little one at a time. What about, Gregory, we need to have like a healthy diet to make our flesh, I'm hesitating to call it efficiently, but make our flesh work effectively, let me say that way. So now, when I say diet, some people, they say, you should become vegetarian, then you don't damage the animal that are on this earth, because that has a good environmental impact as well, less waste and so on, and things like that. So I was wondering, I have other, let's say, practices in also to look at, but I just want to start with this one first. So, Gregory, should we have like a healthy diet to help us to, you could say, make our will manifest in the materially, or as you said, actualize it? So is there something that we should, I say one example is vegetarianism, but maybe it's not like it, or it could be balanced diet. So are these, let's say, one of the ingredients that is necessary to produce for the will to and our volition to manifest, to actually manifest, to fulfill?
Thanks for that particular question. First, the question that each individual must ask themselves, what is man? That which is referred to as a human personality has as its core the spirit. From the spirit, the intuitive perceptions or intuitions are generated. And those intuitive perceptions, they have to impress on one's back brain, and subsequently it impresses on the frontal brain to narrow it down, to make it more understandable to earthly conceptions of space and time. So, strictly speaking, there are two parts. Man is of spirit and body of flesh and blood. What you yourself just mentioned is the improvement of one part of it, which is the physical body. The sort of diet, the sort of intake of foods that it needs, so much that it's able to operate efficiently without disturbing elements which it might have imbibed. There are many routes to achieve that. Also, attention must be paid to one's intuitions. Intuitions in the sense that once you have a personality who is hooked up on a distorted intuitive perception, then that has an impact on he himself and also on the physical body. So it's a two-pronged approach. That which is of spirit and that which is not of spirit but is of flesh and blood. As to how to go about that which is not of spirit, which is of flesh and blood, many have suggested all sorts of methods, vegetarian diets, some even go on fasting. There are so many. Each case must be considered on its own merit. Therefore, it would be wrong to say one method fits all, and that people will should just go via the vegetarian diet. That would be very wrong simply because through the evolution of this physical body was inherited from the animals. There was a time in which many an animal had vegetarian food. Subsequently, it had not only vegetarian food but other types, which is non-vegetarian. And these have helped through the evolution of the physical body to its current state. And in this current state, it is in a dynamic balance. To suddenly throw away all that the body has been used to, all of a sudden, that will tilt the balance and make the individual body weak. And that being the case, you will find that the physical body is unable to take the strain, is unable to interpret the strong impressions which come from the spirit. That will become more like a one-sided way of solving a problem.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this. Again, the picture you have been showing and explaining to us. What we can say is we need to look at these things in a, let's say, comprehensive way rather than only one angle. So, in continuing in regard to these practices I've mentioned, one was this diet to, let's say, help ourselves in achieving, we say good intentions are not enough, so what are these other ingredients that we need to make things, let's say, effective in our, producing these, turning our will into deeds. So this other practice I have in mind, Gregory, it is like martial arts, if I can say like this, or even exercise, just to call it exercise, Gregory. Again, all of this is sort of like related to health, because the diet is health related. So this is also health related, or making use of your body in keeping the body in a fit and in a good condition. So what about this martial arts or exercise? Is there, that is also necessary to allow us to let our will, manifest in the physical deed?
There are many who in their activities wish to establish some form of discipline in their activities. That is highly welcomed. But how they proceed about that to ensure there is that type of discipline, that is a different matter altogether. For you may find that for some people, they go to the extreme of subjecting their physical bodies to some form of torture in the form of exercises. One must consider that the spirit is only able to make use of the physical body when the physical body is robust enough to be able to carry out what has been suggested to it through one's intuition or through one's thoughts. If, however, the body is weakened through exercises, depending on the type of exercises, or through diet, depending on the type of diet, then that balance which is necessary between spirit and body is obstructed. And that in itself cannot be of benefit to the individual.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this answer. I just want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. Also, the topic that we're discussing tonight is good intentions are not enough. Good intentions are not enough. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. There's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And as I said, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box. Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, the topic for tonight, which is good intentions are not enough. And after the show, you can listen to a recording of this show again on YouTube. So go to youtube.com and type in, it's the same words, Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 there, space, Grail Message, space, good intentions are not enough. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, and there's a new link now, which is zeno.fm/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1. Now, Gregory, let's look at another aspect now. We're saying good intentions are not enough. Now, Gregory, in life, we do have, let's say, we make mistakes because we are not perfect. And, so let's say you have good intention, as you said, and even you have a plan which is supposed to work, and somehow you make mistakes. Or even, Gregory, sometimes, no, let me not go to that yet. So when we make mistakes, Gregory, how should we, they can bring disappointments, maybe, so how should we, I'm going to say, take this type of results when they have things go wrong, you can say, or mistakes are made. How do we, you can say, stay, I was going to use the word positive, and how do we keep, concentrate and focus on our goals to achieve the, our wish or will?
The question you asked is so fundamental. Many a time, many a person makes decisions in an arbitrary way without carefully reflecting on the environment in which the fulfillment of these volitions will be accomplished. At the same time, whilst ignoring the environment, whilst ignoring the current possibilities that exist in that environment, the individual also ignores the laws of creation, of motion. They ignore these not only in their intuitions, but also in their thoughts, even in the plans they are putting in place, and also in the implementations of these plans or these volitions. And subsequently they are worried why it didn't work, when it is they themselves who from the outset have violated all these laws, and yet they expect good results when they have put into place the wrong volition, which wrong volition does not resonate accordingly or in accordance with the laws of creation and what is possible in the environment. Therefore, it is not how one should respond to failure, but even at the beginning, before one sets out, there is the need to consider very carefully the environment. By environment, not only the physical environment which are perceptible to the five senses, but also the thoughts environment which are not perceptible, and the intuitive environment. When these things are brought into the mix, and the laws of creation, of nature, the laws through which all that exists came into existence, including man himself in his thinking, when that is then considered, then it is possible to put in place a pattern, or like many will use, a mechanism in place in which, in a step-by-step manner, that volition will be realized. Very simply, a farmer who wishes to plant crops must first observe the physical environment, must spend some time reflecting over it. It's not given that it must be in accordance to his thoughts. But because a lot of data has been collected over time, he himself will pay attention to that which has been gathered. And not only to the environment as such, but also to the behavior of the animals. All these are things which an individual must take into consideration. Only when they have become alert and are vigilant in all these areas and have disciplined themselves in how they themselves wish to accomplish this, first in bits, in humility, only then are they able to achieve results in humility, not in massive steps, but in little steps, because there will be reciprocal activities which will report to them how well they are doing. In that particular scenario, they are vigilant. They are alert. In that particular scenario, the likelihood is that in their vigilance and alertness, they are able to accomplish much. So there will be the good volition. That good volition, which is good only in accordance with the laws of creation. And then they must be patient and they must persevere because there will be challenges. They must be dedicated in striving to fulfill. For as many know, for the individual that wish to accomplish that which is robust, which will not shatter when the first resistance comes into place, or when he or she encounters the first resistance, there must be continuous patience. There must be perseverance again and again. With that, there must be that love for that which needs to be accomplished to drive it forward. That is how the individual needs to operate. With that, many a disappointment will vanish because that which would have caused the disappointment due to non-observance of these factors, of these mechanisms, that would have vanished. And therefore, the individual would have built, in quotes, a system, or would have built within himself a discipline that will help in the actualization of the activities which are necessary to ensure that success is achieved.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this, you could say, big picture that we need to consider and be aware of in our journey to success, in our manifesting our intentions into deed. So mistakes are, we do see that, we will make them, but it shouldn't stop us from chasing our goal. Now, another thing, Gregory, I had actually loads of questions on this section now, but let me just pick one or two now. So, what about our doubts, Gregory? There are many things we don't know, and we are aware there's a context, there's this world, this world of existence where there are laws of natural laws, the laws of creation, we've mentioned them before, that operate. And but it's like I said, we earlier said we are not perfect, we make mistakes, but then there's also, we have doubts because we don't know what is the future going to be, and about if we should go forward with something or not, and maybe because of the lack of our knowledge about something. So I'm wondering, Gregory, should we said good intentions are not enough. So is there some attitude? You mentioned already humility. You mentioned I think some other things which have at the moment have escaped my head. So how do we overcome our doubts? Is it some confident attitude we need to adopt, or need to put some effort into something. So yes, how do we deal with our doubts?
It is said the journey of a million miles starts with the first step. There must be a beginning. One thing which is beyond doubt for every human personality that has attained adulthood is that motion is a law, that they have to move. They must be engaged in one activity or the other. That being the case, that the body must be kept in motion, else it will not be strong enough to carry out its functionality. Even the process of eating, of breathing, that is motion. The process of speaking, that is motion. As with everything, at the beginning, the need is good to start as a child for that which you yourself are not yet accustomed to. For the child, or being childlike, in learning a language, takes the different parts of the language in bits. It doesn't swallow the whole thing and keep using them in a thoughtless manner. There is a need for keen observation. This is part of the discipline. There is a need to start in a humble way, not in a massive way. After all, if you have to travel, go to a place which is 1 mile away, you must take the first step and then the second step. And in that way, before long, you arrive at the destination. So, for any individual to be able to accomplish that which will be of benefit, the individual must make a start and learn from this start, which means it has to experience the start, the starting point, in bits, and not just wishing to start and all of a sudden it has got to the end. For that which the individual needs, which initially streams from one's intuition, which hits the back brain and subsequently the frontal brain before it is brought into being using the 5 senses, one will find that there will be reciprocal activities when this individual makes these efforts. And these reciprocal activities which it has encountered should be taken in via the 5 senses to the frontal brain, which should be passed to the back brain and to spirit, where the spirit is able to make use of these reciprocal activities in this particular environment, is able to make use of it for its own benefit. That is the right way forward. If, however, an individual wishes to accomplish something and without due consideration wishes that all of it will just come to a quick conclusion and everything is working well, then that individual has missed out the steps which are necessary for the spirit to experience. The individual has incarnated here on earth in order to experience. Many a person thinks that whenever there are challenges in front of him or her, he cannot be doing the right thing and he has doubts and therefore abandons that which challenges him to exert himself accordingly to find a solution to a particular challenge. The individual that has incarnated on earth has incarnated in order to experience. More of what the individual needs to do, one may safely refer to the work in the light of truth, which gives the concept of the light precisely and the concept of truth. In that case, in absorbing this concept, one will find that the way forward for the individual, the way upwards, the way which is beneficial for the individual, is dependent on the concepts which we ourselves have cultivated along the line. That is helpful here. The man in flesh and blood, and even when it has left here, the world of matter or of gross matter, as one may put it. In that case, those things that it has referred to as doubts, which doubts can only have sprung from his inability to understand aright, but having dug himself into the strong impressions and activities in nature, in creation, many would have found a solution to many challenging problems. And in the inner clarity it has cultivated, it is then able to go forward, first in confidence, and then courageously. Are you there?
Oh, apologies. I was speaking. Yes, I'm here. Apologies. I was speaking without me realizing I'm on mute. So, Gregory, I still would like to ask one more question before the show ends. Basically, how should one start? What I mean by that is, let's say we have an earthly problem and we are racking our brains to find a solution. Should we be starting, let's say, are we going to use the word bottom upwards or upwards downwards, meaning waiting for inspiration? Because sometimes you hear of these stories of these famous inventions. The one person, penicillin, I can't remember the person, but I believe he received some inspiration one evening or one day. I don't know if it's a dream or vision, I can't quite remember. Some inspiration that the person received, and from this he was able to come up with penicillin. And the name of the person has gone out of my head. So what I'm trying to say, Gregory, there's a problem, earthly problem, and we're looking for the solution. And how should one start? Is it from you could say, top down with inspiration, or from the bottom up with your, let's say, some sort of science investigation, something like that? Yeah.
With quiet observation, that which you have indicated as a challenge or how one should start, if the individual is alert enough, many solutions or many a solution to a problem or a solution to many a problem, if he or she has been open enough, the solutions might have been proffered to it, but he himself did not pay attention due to his inner attitude. Alertness and vigilance, in accordance with the laws of creation, is what the human personality should have. For if the human personality is awake, then it is able to perceive of the solutions to these problems, in quotes, even before they become as rigid as he himself has considered them. Therefore, the human personality must be awake. For if it is awake in spirit, awake in thoughts, and awake in deeds, then it would have found answers to many of the questions, to many of the challenges that are assailing it. The non-observance due to the wrong inner attitude, that is what has made provision to the doubts and confusion on how he or she should start. Start first by demolishing the wrong inner attitude that the individual has had all this while. Not long ago, someone was asking about slavery, and was making suggestions on the rules to prevent slavery. I wanted a comprehensive solution to slavery. What many did not consider is that only a slave, only a personality who is a slave within himself or herself will implement such policies as to enslave others. In that scenario, you will find that those who engage in slavery, consciously or unconsciously, they are in themselves slaves to their passion or are unable to have self-control, for they do not yet understand that just as they themselves are striving to have good volition to fulfill their needs, so also are others. And that the way forward is one for all and all for one. In that scenario, there will be no slavery, because each person can sense what his or her needs are, just like others. The same thing with having to make a start, that the individual will start very simply or very humbly and put out a good volition, such that the good volition, in accordance with the laws of creation, will thereby attract other good volitions in intuition, in their thoughts, and subsequently in their deeds.
Thanks so very much, Gregory, for this answer. Now, dear listeners, we've come to the end of our show tonight on the topic of good intentions are not enough. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. I'm now going to read something from the front of the Grail Message to end the show. It says, "Free yourself from all darkness. He who makes no effort to grasp the word of the Lord aright burdens himself with guilt." And dear listeners, if you wish to find out more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Greg, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say good night?
Wishing all listeners a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same from me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. Take care. Good night.